Daf Yomi, Tractate Menachot, page 43. Starting at the bottom of page 42 for context. Let's start from the Braita. Tana Rabbanan Techelas Ein La Bedika Ve'ela Nikachas Ela Min HaMumcha. Tefillin Yesh La Bedika Ve'ein Nikachin Ela Min HaMumcha. Svarim Umezuzah Yesh Lahem Bedika Ve'nikach Min Adam. Mikol Adam. The sages taught in Braita there is no reliable method of testing sky blue wool, and therefore it may be purchased only from an expert. There is a method of testing phylacteries to ensure that they were written properly, but nevertheless, they may be purchased only from an expert. There is a method of testing Torah scrolls and mezuzot, and they may be purchased from anyone. Veha Rav Yitzchak Berei Rav Yehuda Badik Le Simon Begeshem Mesi Magvia Gila Maya De Shav Lilta Miraglayim. The Gemara asks, and is there no method for testing sky blue wool? But didn't Rav Yitzchak, the son of Rav Yehuda, test it to ensure that it was dyed with techelas? The Gemara provides a mnemonic for the test, which was carried out with items whose names contain the letters Gimel, Shin, and Mem. He would bring alum clay, which is Magavia Gila, alum clay, and water of fenugreek, Shavlilta, and urine, Memiraglayim. Interesting. Ben Arbaim, now we turn to 43a, top of the page. Ben Arbaim Yom, that was 40 days old. Yitarela bigavayu miurta biad safra I pared chazute pasula ilo pared chazute kashero. That was 40 days old. He would soak the sky blue wool in this solution from night until morning. If its color would fade, the sky blue wool was determined to be unfit, as it was not dyed with techelas derived from mechilazon. But if its color would not fade, the sky blue wool was determined to be fit. Interesting. I wonder how it came with that remedy. But now it's soaked in urine. I mean, maybe what he'd have to do is, after, if it was fit, he would wash it, with regular water. Ravada Kamei the Rabba Mishmei the Rabba Evi Rama Meisi Chamira Al Kasa Disare Yapile Birabai Ishtanai Lemaliuta Keshera Ligariusa Psula Pisamnair Shinui Sheker Shinui Emes. And Rav Ada said before Rava, in the name of Rav Avira, one brings hard leavened barley dough and bakes the sky blue wool in it. If the color of the sky blue wool changes for the better, meaning that the process intensifies the color of the sky blue wool, then it is fit. If the color of the sky blue wool changes for the worse, meaning it fades, then it is unfit. And your mnemonic is: change reveals falsehood and change reveals truth. All of this indicates that it is possible to test whether sky blue wool has been dyed with real techelas, contrary to the Braita. Okay. My ein la bedika nami dekomar ateima. The Gemara explains the Braita. What does it mean when it says there is no reliable method for testing sky blue wool? It means that there is no way to test whether it was dyed for the sake of the mitzvah or for the purpose of testing the dye. Marmim shechi aisi techelta bishne rabachai badkua midrav Yitzchak berei Rav Yehuda viparen chazute. The Gemara relates that Mar, a sage from Mashkai, brought sky blue wool in the years when Rav Achai was a preeminent sage. They tested it in the manner described by Rav Yitzchak, the son of Yehuda, and its color faded. Then they tested it in the manner described by Ada, and the color changed for the better. I wonder if that's good. What do you mean change for the better? It shouldn't change at all. Anyway. Savar Lemifsale, Amar Lehu Rav Achai Elaha La Techeltahi Velo Kala Ilanhi. The sages taught that the sky blue wool should be deemed unfit because it did not pass the first test. Rav Achai said to them, but how could it be that this wool is not techeles as it failed one of the tests, and it is also not indigo as it passed the other? This is impossible, because it must be one or the other. Rather conclude from it that these halachot were stated together. Hecha debat kana B'Rav Yitzchak Berei Rav Yehuda lo yiparei chazute kshero yiparei chazute but kinan le b'Rav Ada b'chamira arkesa ishtane lemaliuta kshera lig reuta pesula shalachomita shemauta daditva. He explains in a case where we tested the wool in a manner described by Rav Yitzchak, the son of Yehuda, and its color did not fade, it is fit and requires no further testing. If its color faded, then we test it in the manner described by Rav Ada with hard leavened barley dough. If the color changed for the better, it is fit. If the color changed for the worse, it is unfit. The Gemara adds, they sent a message from there, meaning Eretz Yisrael. These halachot were in fact stated together as explained by Rav Achai. Rav Mani Daik was Avin Kechomrei Mas Niyasam. Lehu Saba Hachi Avud Kamei Dikamach Yitzlach Yiskaihu. The Gemara relates that Rabbi Mani was exacting and purchased sky blue wool in accordance with the stringencies of the Braita cited earlier. Meaning that wool dyed as a test is unfit for ritual fringes, and that therefore one should purchase sky blue wool for ritual fringes only from an expert. A certain elder said to him, "This is what your early predecessors did, and their businesses were successful." Tanarabanan Alkeach Talis Mesuyetzes Menachot Misrael Arehi Michezkoso Minagoy Uminatago Kshero Minahedjit Psuda. The sages taught in the Braita, in the case of one who purchased a cloak with ritual fringes from the marketplace, if he purchased it from a Jew, it retains its presumptive status that it is fit for the mitzvah. If he purchased it from a Gentile, then if he purchased it from a merchant, it is presumed to be fit, as the merchant would want to maintain its credibility and would therefore purchase the sky blue strings only from a reliable source. But if he purchased it from a Gentile who is an ordinary person rather than a professional merchant, the sky blue strings are unfit, as the seller presumably dyed them himself. And even though the sages said a person is not permitted to sell a cloak with ritual fringes to a non-Yehudi until he unties and removes its ritual fringes, it is permitted to purchase such a cloak from a Gentile merchant, as it is assumed that the merchant acquired the cloak from a Jew who ignored this halacha. My time hacha targimu mishum zona. I think this thing I was thinking about is here. My time hacha targimu mishum zona. Rabbi Yehuda Omar Shema Yitala Be'imo K'Derech Yihalgenu. Interesting. The Gemara asks, what is the reason for the prohibition against selling a cloak with ritual fringes to a Gentile? The Gemara answers, here they interpreted that it is prohibited because of the concern that the Gentile will visit a prostitute and observers will think that he is a Jew. Alternatively, Rabbi Yehuda said it is prohibited lest a Jew mistake the Gentile for a Jew and accompany him on a journey thinking that he is also Jewish due to his ritual fringes, and the Gentile might then kill him. Rabbi Yehuda Rami Techelta li Parzuma Dina Shebeise Umivarech Kol Safra li Satef Betzitzis. Rabbi Yehuda would have fixed white and sky blue strings to the garment of his wife, and every morning he would recite the blessing to wrap ourselves in garments with ritual fringes. Interesting. Romantic. Midrami kasava mitzvah sasei shelo hazman gomahu amay mevorech kol safra v'tzafra. The Gemara asks, from the fact that he would affix ritual fringes to his wife's garments, it is apparent that he holds that the obligation of ritual fringes is a positive mitzvah that is not time-bound, and therefore women are also obligated in it. But if that is his opinion, why did he recite a blessing on ritual fringes each and every morning? In order for the mitzvah not to be time-bound, it must apply at night, in which case a new blessing should not be recited in the morning. The Gemara answers, Rabbi Yehuda was acting in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, as it is taught in the Braita with regard to phylacteries. Every time one dons them, he recites the blessing over them, even several times in one day. This is the statement of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. Ihachi kol shaitanami Rabbi Yehuda inish tzni'o hava velo shorile leglime kule yoma uma yishno mitzavho ki mishani mi kisus laila leksus yom. The Gemara asks, if so, he should have also recited a blessing every time that he took the cloak off and put it back on, and not merely once a day in the morning. The Gemara answers, Yehuda was a modest man, and he did not remove his cloak the entire day. The Gemara asks, in what way is it different from the morning? Meaning, why did he recite a blessing in the morning? The Gemara answers, he recited a blessing in the morning when he changed from a nighttime garment to a daytime garment. Tanu Rabana Nakol Chayom Mitzitzis Kohanim Nevim Yisraelim Geirim Noshim Ba'avodim Rabbi Shimon Poiter B'Noshim Mipnei Shemitzvah Aseh Shazman Gomahu Chol Mitzvah Aseh Shazman Goma Noshim Turois. The sages taught in the Braita that everyone is obligated in the midst of ritual fringes, including priests, Levites, Israelites, converts, women, and Canaanite slaves. Rabbi Shimon deems women exempt because the mitzvah of ritual fringes is a positive time-bound mitzvah, and women are exempt from every positive time-bound mitzvah. Amar Mara, Kochem B'tzitzis Koyam Levim Yisraelim Pshita Di Koyam Levim Yisraelim B'tiri Ma'il Chayev. Okay, the Gemara analyzes the Braita. The master said in the Braita, everyone is obligated in the midst of ritual fringes, including priests, Levites, and Israelites. The Gemara asks, isn't that obvious? As if priests, Levites, and Israelites were exempt from the mitzvah, who then would be obligated? Kohanim mitzrichalei, sol kedai tchamina hoyel l'chsiv, lo yitil bashat nes tzemach bishim yachdov, gedilim ta'aseloch, man de la ישתרי כליים לגבי בלבישה הוא דמחייב בסיסיס, הני כהנים הועיל, וישתרי כליים לגבי לא לחייבו. The Gemara answers it was necessary for the Braita to mention that priests are obligated to fulfill the mitzvah as it may enter your mind to say as follows. Since it is written, you shall not wear diverse kinds, wool and linen together. You shall prepare yourself twisted cords upon the four corners of your covering. Deuteronomy 22:11-12. Only one who is not permitted to wear diverse kinds is obligated in the midst of ritual fringes. With regard to these priests, since diverse kinds are permitted for them when they perform the temple service, as the belt of the priestly vestments contain diverse kinds, they should not be obligated in the midst of ritual fringes. Kamash Milan. Therefore, the Braita teaches us that although the prohibition of diverse kinds is permitted for them at the time when they perform the temple service, when it is not the time of the temple service, it is not permitted, and therefore priests are obligated in the mitzvah of ritual fringes. Rabbi Shimon Poto Menachim. My time of Rabbi Shimon Ditanya Rizvoisoi Prat Lexus Laila. The Braita states that Rabbi Shimon deems women exempt. The Gemara asks, what is the reasoning of Rabbi Shimon? The Gemara answers, as it is taught in the Braita, that with regard to ritual fringes it is stated, and it shall be unto you for a fringe that you may look upon it and remember all the commandments of the Lord. Numbers 15:39. The term that you may look excludes a nighttime garment, as it is dark at night and it is therefore difficult to see. Ata oimer prat lexus laila o eno ela prat lexus some keshu oimer asher tikase ba harexus some amu hama ani mikayem orisim oisoi prat lexus laila. The Braita continues, one may ask, do you say that the verse serves to exclude a nighttime garment, or is it to exclude only the garment of a blind person who is unable to see his ritual fringes? The Tana explains, when the verse states of your covering with which you cover yourself, Deuteronomy 22:12, the garment of a blind person is mentioned as being included, as the verse already stated of your covering, and did not need to state with which you cover yourself. If so, how do I realize the meaning of the exclusion that you may look upon it? It must exclude a nighttime garment. The Gemara asks, what did you see that led you to include the garment of a blind person from the phrase with which you cover yourself, and to exclude a nighttime garment from the phrase that you may look upon it, rather than including a nighttime garment in the obligation and excluding the garment of a blind person? The Gemara answers, I include the garment of a blind person which is visible to others, even though the blind person himself cannot see it, and I exclude the nighttime garment which is not visible even to others. The Rabbanon, the Gemara asks, and the rabbis who disagree with Rabbi Shimon, turn to 43b, Hi asher tikasim b'mai avdile, yiboilei chidetanya arba campos, kesuscha arba velo shalosh. What do they do with, meaning how do they interpret this verse, with which you cover yourself? Deuteronomy 22:12. The Gemara answers that the rabbis require for that which is taught in a Braita, the phrase on the four corners of your garment. Deuteronomy 22:12 indicates that one is required to attach ritual fringes to a garment that has four corners, but not to one that has three corners. Okay, stop here and continue the next Amud.